Hi there, this is Julie with PhotoFabPaperFlowers, and thank you for watching. This video will instruct you how to make a ball dahlia using my Ball Dahlia template. The supplies you'll need to make it would be a hot glue gun and glue sticks, your flower shaping mats, your dowel rods, a bone folder, piercing scoring tool, embossing stylus, some craft glue. I'm using needle nose pliers, metal ball stylus set, and slotted quilling tool, and a pair of precision scissors. Some 18 gauge floral stem wire. And we're also using a smaller piece to roll some of our petals, so I always have that. I keep a little piece here in my dowel rod kit. Okay, so all the supplies are listed, and the sizes to set up your project in your machine's design space are included in the written instructions document, which comes with your purchase of the template. So you'll upload each of the individual files, the sepal, the leaves, the petal, and then I like to keep them at the top of my project, and then I'll duplicate each one of them and size it according to the size chart. Because I like to mix and match, and we create additional flowers. So that's how I sell my templates. So we're going to go ahead and get started again. Set everything up to according to the size chart included in your instruction document. You'll upload each individual file. That way you can name it PF Ball Dahlia, and then duplicate them to set up this particular flower. Okay, and I like to do additional tutorials on my Facebook page. So with the Ball Dahlia, we work from smallest to largest. So there are 4 small ones at 2 inches wide. And for all of those, we're just going to use a piece of 18 gauge floral stem wire. So again, go into your stash. You're going to place it down in your petal, and I'm doing mine at a little bit of an angle, and it just happens that way a lot because I am right-handed. But I find it's a little bit easier if you go right at that corner. Pinch it up with your thumb and roll it between your fingers. These are innermost petals. Okay, so we have 4 small ones. We're rolling exactly like this. So pinch it up and then roll it between your fingers. Just be careful, these are delicate petals with a small center here where it meets the base. Okay. Now you can optionally ink. It's totally up to you. I am inking mine. For my petals, I'm using some ground espresso, distress oxide, and seedless preserves. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and roll all of our petals, and then I'll come back and ink them. Okay, just to make it a lot easier. For our next set of petals, they're at 2 1/4 inches wide. We only have 2 of those, but we're still going to use our piece of 18 gauge floral stem wire again, because this flower has a lot of layers. Of course, you can stop at any one, and we want them rolled pretty tightly. So even though we have a large gap on either side of our 18 gauge floral stem wire, we're still going to use this because, again, I want it a lot of curl to the petal. Okay, so place it down. You're pinching up with your thumb and just rolling it between your fingers. So it has a nice curl to that petal. And you can see just because of time, I did pre-ink and curl most of the petals. Okay, so that's for our second size. Our third size is 2.5, so I'm going up at increments of 1/4 inch. We're still going to use our 18 gauge floral stem wire. So this will still have a nice curl to it. So place it down in the middle of your petal, pinch it up with your thumb. So you can see I'm all the way over, and then just roll it between your fingers. Okay, pinch it up with your thumb. You can see how it's on there, and then just roll it between your fingers. And because these are super duper curled petals, we need a lot of layers. Plus the Ball Dahlia has more of a shape of a ball, or rounded. Ours is not super duper rounded, but it's inspired by it. Our next size is 2.25 inches, and we only have 2 of those here. And we're going to switch to our wooden dowel rod set. So I offer them in 6-inch and 12-inch, and it comes with a color-coded dowel rod. So the one that's not color-coded is the Julie. In both sets, it is 6 inches. We named it after me. We're going to pick up again. This is 2.75 inches. Place it down in the middle of the petal. Pinch it up with your thumb. Let go and roll it between your fingers. Okay, so it still has a nice curl to it. Place it down in the middle of the petal, pinch it up with your thumb, and roll it between your fingers. So again, totally optional whether you want to ink, so that's why I'll show you how to roll each size petal, and then we'll come back and ink it, and you can fast forward if you like. Our next set is 3 inches wide, and we're still going to use the Julie, so we have 3 of those at 3 inches. Place it down in the middle of the petal, pinch it up, and roll. Okay, our next size is 3.25 inches, and we're going to switch to our 1/8 inch dowel rod. This one is color coded, and it is our purple dowel rod. They are hand colored. We're going to place it down in the middle of the petal, pinch it up with your thumb, and roll. Okay, and then our last size, hard to keep it all on camera, is 3.5 inches, and again we're going to use that Julie dowel rod. I'm sorry, the purple 1/8. Oy. Place it down the middle of the petal, pinch it up with your thumb, let go, and roll it between your fingers. Pinch it up with your thumb, let go, and roll it between your fingers. Okay, now again, optionally inking is totally up to you. I'm using 2 colors. I also have out some crackling campfire for our center, which we'll do next. So for my petals, I'm using a little bit of the ground espresso and seedless preserves distress oxide. So all I'm doing is brushing over each petal, so I like it to be on just the tips, and I do hold it here at the base so they don't move, because again they are delicate. I flip it over, and then I just go at the tip on the back. I'm literally just brushing that tip. And then for my flower, now each color is different. I'm adding a little bit of seedless preserves over top of it. I like the combination of the seedless preserves and the ground espresso. Then flip it over, and again, just go at the tips. On a previous flower, I just used seedless preserve. So again, it all depends on the color that you're doing. And I'm just going to continue this process with the rest of my petals. I like to leave mine on my Cricut mat, so you can see there's two of them. And I'm going to add some of the orange here first. So I just don't want to mess up my piles. So I'm going to add a little bit of crackling campfire. Again, whatever colors you're using, you can coordinate with your color paper. So I just like to add it to one side. And it's much easier to keep it on the mat and add your coloring. So if you just wanted to use orange for inking on all your other ones and you're using orange paper, that's perfectly okay. We're going to remove our centers. And yes, I was using a brand new mat, and it peeled right off. Sorry if I touched the camera. All right, so you can see we have our center. So this side is the side that we did ink. So I'm just going to stack them on top of one another very carefully. So they are a little curly just because, again, I did use a brand new mat. We're going to take our bone folder, and I'm just going to curl the center so my ink is on top. If you chose to ink, and we're just pulling the center petals to give them a little bit of a curl, like you're curling eyelashes or a ribbon. So they'll have a slight curl to them, just a little bit. And yes, you will get ink all over your fingers. For my original inking, I did put gloves on. Okay, we're going to take our slotted quilling tool, We're going to thread one end into the slotted quilling tool. You're going to roll it a few times towards yourself. Add some glue. So I like to use Gorilla Glue sticks and the 8-inch length, so that way I don't have to keep adding hot glue. Roll it towards you, keeping the bottom right edge aligned. We're going to secure the end with hot glue. And now I'm going to optionally ink. So I'm going to go over using the colors I've been using. So a ground espresso, I'm going to brush on. And then I'm going to add some of the purple. Make sure you brush it on top. Again, you can then go back over if you want with a little bit of ground espresso. Again, totally up to you how you want to shade your centers. Now we're going to add glue, enough glue along the bottom here to make one rotation around our center. Okay, I'm just going to go line it up. You can go to where it ended. I have a little bit of a gap. It's okay. Roll it towards you. And then secure the end with hot glue. Okay, and now I'm going to do my same process of inking. Again, totally optional if you want to ink. I brush on the ground espresso. Now I use different colors again for the sample flower I made. So again, each flower will be different depending on your project's needs. This would be beautiful in a fall arrangement or bouquet. Add some seedless preserves in. I love the combo of these. I did use these on a recent wedding order, and it looks beautiful on the bright white paper from Astro Brights. Now I want some darker color in there, so I'm going to add again that ground espresso on top. And the only other color I added to my other flower is a little bit of Villainous Potion. What a fun purple. It's definitely purple, blue purple. Now you can remove it from your slotted quilling tool. You can press down a little bit, and that's what she looks like. Okay, now we're going to prepare our sepals. So we have two different sizes again. Once you add them to your project, name them as I have it named in the instruction document you receive. You can just duplicate it, and I enter the width and the height automatically adjusts. So we're going to take our Julie dowel rod. Again, that's the one that's not color coded, that comes with my wooden dowel rod set. For either size, the larger is 3 inches and this is 2 3/4. You're going to roll the Julie dowel rod, so place it down the middle of the petal, pinch it up with your thumb and roll it. Okay, pinch it up and roll. You can come in more at an angle, you can do it straight on here. That one's more straight, this one's more rolled in from the right side, which is generally probably more how I roll, just because I am right-handed. And we're going to do that with the 2 3/4 inch width petal. So thank you for stopping by and watching, or if you purchased the template, thank you so much. Hope I can inspire you to make lots of paper flowers. Now, again, totally optional if you want to add any ink. I've been adding the purple seedless preserves to my leaves. I like the look. It's almost like a succulent look. Again, you're just brushing it on for that shape of that petal, highlighting the rolled shape. Flip it over, and again, I'm just adding some, mostly on the sides there, a little bit at the tip. And then I did a little bit in the center. We're gonna assemble these under, so the roll of the petal will be under. And your second one, again, brushing, I'm adding purple. Again, more for fall vibes. If you were doing spring ones, you know, lighter colors, you don't necessarily have to do the purple. Okay, so let's create our dahlia. So again, we're starting from smallest to largest, which is the opposite because we are going to stem our flower. Now again, you can stop at any layer that you choose, totally up to you, but for the beginning part of the flower, we do assemble it not on the stem. So we're going to actually take our 4 small ones. I'm going to take our metal ball stylus tool. You're just going, I'm using the second to smallest. That's the smallest end, and that's the second to smallest. Just roll where the petals meet the base. Okay, we're going to add some glue to the bottom of our center and along that flat part. Just watch your fingers. You're just going to choose one of them and place that center right in the center. Probably the hardest part. Fold it up and just press it to make sure it holds. Now you could have done a different colored center, totally up to you. Add glue, and I'm going to do a little bit around the sides again. Now we're going to look at a petal and bring it straight down in between the previous layers. So if that one was pulled back, it would fall in between those two. Oops. And then you're just going to fold up those petals. And we're just pressing at the bottom. And now we're just going to add glue. Now we can start to look at the back here, look at a petal and place it in between. And again, fold them up. So you could have just done an orange highlight. Totally up to you. Okay, again, we're going to assemble from the back, so you add your glue right to the back of the flower or the underside. And this makes it easy. You just look at a petal and place it in between. So if you just wanted to make a smaller stem, here would be like a micro size flower. Perfectly, you could stop right here. and add a sepal around it like it's a small bud or a little micro flower. So again, you can do it super quick and easy, or we're just going to continue to add our petals. Okay, our next size is the 2 1/4. We're again going to roll the petals where they meet the base, just to lift them up off the tabletop. We're going to add our glue. Now we did switch sizes, so what you can do is, again, look at a petal and place it in between, and then flip it over just to make sure we're not off to one side. Okay. Add your glue. And flip it over, look at a petal, and place it in between the previous layer's petals. You can see how she's coming together. Again, we're going to take our next 4, roll the petals where they meet the base. Flip it over. We're going to add our glue to the back. So it's a little bit different than how we normally do it. We're going to look at 2 petals and place our petal in between. I'm going to flip it over quick to make sure it looks even. Again, at any point you can stop with your layers if you need a smaller flower. We add our glue, look at our 2 petals from our previous layer, and we just place them in between. Take your next 2, place it in between the previous layers. Flip it over. And our last petal for this layer, for this size petal, place it in between. Again, you can stop at any point. Okay, for our next 2, we're going to glue these 2 together without rolling the center. So just add some glue, and we're going to place it directly on top with the petals in between the previous layer's petals. We're going to add our glue to the back. And then we're going to glue our petals in between the previous layers. Now we're starting to get some shape to our flower. Alright, so we're going to let that sit there for a moment. We're going to pierce our hole in between, in the center with our piercing scoring tool. This tool can be purchased at your local Dollar Tree. Okay, we're going to take a piece of 18 gauge floral stem wire. I did cut mine in half, so that's why you would need wire cutters, or you can always cut right here at the edge of at the very bottom of the needle nose pliers. That's a wire cutter. So place that 18 gauge floral stem wire in between your needle nose pliers, bend it around like a hook, place it back in between your needle nose pliers, squeeze that hook shut, straighten it out. I like to close it as much as I can. Place it back in your needle nose pliers, directly vertical, and bend it 90 degrees like a corner. Okay, you're going to thread one of the petals, and these are our 3-inch. We're going to add glue to the underside of that wire loop. Thread your petal all the way up and let that catch. Okay, now we're going to add glue, oops, all over this base of our flower, including on top of that wire loop. You're going to flip your flower over, and we're going to look at a petal and place it in between the previous layer's petals. Best you can in the middle there, and then press. So again, at any time you can stop your layers. It's totally up to you. So depending on what size, but we're going to start to create that more ball or rounded shape. We're going to thread one end in, and you can add glue to the bottom of your flower. Thread the petals down in between the previous layer's petals, and then press. So it's starting to get a nice shape to her. Now you can straighten them out a little bit because we still have quite a few layers to go. 6, well 7 with this one, plus our sepals. Thread your next petal on. Again, you're adding your glue on the underside. Just twirl your stem. Thread the petal down and place it in between the previous layer's petals. And make sure you press to make sure that's secure. Oh, she's so pretty. Now we're going to take our next set of 3 1/4 inch petals. You're going to do your piercing scoring tool. I don't like to set that up in my machine's design space because I don't like all the little pieces, and if you resized it as we make different flowers, it's a lot more difficult. This is the perfect size for our wire. So add your glue to the underside. Okay, we're going to thread our petals down in between the previous layers. Make sure you press. So again, you can see the shape of it. Not perfectly round, but it has the rounded ball shape. So I do have some glue strings, which is normal for me. Take your next one, add your glue, thread your petals down. So we're threading with the petals rolled up. So you can flatten them out, don't be afraid. Okay, thread your next layer. So again, at any point you can stop. It's totally up to you depending on your project. So we add our glue to the underside of our last layer, and then we thread down, placing the petals in between the previous layers. And press. Make sure that is secure there in the center. And then you can flatten. Don't be afraid. And then we have our last three. The petals are rolled up when you're assembling. Now with this glue gun you can flip up your stand, which is why I like it, and it's super duper light. So add your glue. Thread the petals in between the previous layers, petals, and press. So again, you can stop at any layers, totally up to you. Add your glue to the underside. Now remember, our petals, we started out with the smallest and we're going to the largest. Thread it in between, wherever you feel is best. They will move, and because they're so tightly curled, they like to stack sometimes. Oh, she's gorgeous. And then we have one more petal. Add your glue to the underside. Okay, we're looking at our previous layers, petals, and thread it in between. Or wherever you need it to be, or wherever it lands. So you can see some of them do stack, and that's okay. What's nice then is you'll see your sepals. But you can see the shape of it that it took. Now you can certainly use some larger layers right away to keep it more of a rounded, but I love this look. Now for our sepals, we already inked them, so we're going to flip them over. So the petals are rolled under. Use your piercing scoring tool, pierce a hole in the center. We're going to flip them back over. Take our metal ball stylus, roll where the petals meet the base. And we're starting with the larger one, so flip it over so the petals are rolled under. We always pierce our hole the way we're going to assemble it onto our floral wire. Now here you can either add it down here or you can add it right to your sepal. So I'm just going to add some glue there. Just be careful not to get it on your wire. Okay. I'm going to thread it all the way through. Press it down so you can see the green popping out. Take our second one. You can pull your sepal petals down. And we're going to add glue right to the top of the sepal. Thread it, and we're going to place these in between the previous layer of the sepal. And there you have your flower. Now what we can do is add some leaves. So again, optional on whether you want to add leaves or not. So I'm gonna, I forgot to tell you, some floral tape. I like to use brown, but you can use green. It doesn't matter, whatever you have for your project. Pull it to activate the glue. I roll it down here. Roll it a few times. So you pull as you're rolling. So slide it all the way up to the top. And that makes it easier because these petals are rolled. They're hanging down pretty far. So now you just roll the stem, and I'm pulling to make sure that's tight. Okay, so now we have our flower ready to go. Let's prepare our leaves. I did 2 of them at 2 different sizes. So we're going to take our craft glue. I like to use Barely Art. Now I take my lid off. It's been easier that way right now because I was making so many leaves for a wedding. We're going to add glue to one of them. Doesn't matter which one. I'm going to use some wire that I already have. You can use a thinner than 18 gauge if you want, or you can just use 18 gauge. Now this is not exactly straight. So once you have it down, I like to add a little glue on top. Take the exact same size one and place it directly on top, making sure it's totally aligned. Press it all over, and once you're sure you have it pressed down, you can take a Cricut braying tool or a small piece of tubing, whatever you have, and roll it over top. And that's just making sure it adheres. And we're going to do that exact same process with our smaller leaf. So add your craft glue all over the leaf. I'm just going to bend that a little bit. Now you can go, 3/4 of the way up or as far up the top leaf as you want. Add a little craft glue on top. Place a same size leaf directly over top. Press down. Okay, I'm going to replace my lid here. I'll go over it with my Cricut Brayer tool. And we're going to bring in our flower shaping mat. So I'm going to do the first one we did. I'm going to take our Embossing Stylus. Again, this one's from Dollar Tree. It's the largest end because I don't want to poke through with the smaller. I like to trace my wire. Now I'm going to add veining. So basically I'm following the curve of the leaves. So press. You're bringing the lines towards your center line and then come down the other side. For the 2 smaller ones, draw a line down the center. We don't have a wire there, and you're going to do exactly the same thing. just like you see veins on your leaves outside in your yard, if you live in that the area and not in the desert area, but you should still see leaves. Okay, again, trace your wire at the top here, and then add your veining. So it's just lines towards the center. And then draw your line down the side leaf and do the same veining technique. Okay, now I do like to go over it with the Ball Stylus tool to really just color in that veining and to give it shape. More realism or realistic looking leaf. Okay, then we're going to add a little bit of purple because I did to my sepal petals. So you can go around the edge, a little bit up the center. Depends on how much coloring you want to your leaves. Definitely highlight the shape of the leaf. Flip it over and add ink around the edges. And you can add some brown, some green, whatever you want, or no ink at all. Okay. Now you can take one of your dowel rods, you can bend it to shape it, you can curl some of the sides under, roll them up. Again, totally up to you. Maybe you want to wait till it's till it's stemmed, but you just don't want it to be straight. Now I'm going to squeeze the bottom here. We're going to tear off a piece of floral tape. I don't want to bend that one too fast. I'm going to come down near the end, right where it meets the wire, and we're going to cover it up. I'm going to roll up a little bit and then come down at an angle. Now this is brown wire, so we would be okay. Rip off a piece of tape, you pulled it to activate it, pinch at the base for that to fold over that paper there. Go right to where the leaf paper ends and the stem meet. Wrap a few times. I go up at an angle. I'm not going all the way up. And then come back down. And then you can just twirl it. Okay. Now we're just going to bring back our beautiful flower, and we can attach our leaves however you want to, or if you didn't want to attach any at all. Totally up to you. So I am going to bend this a little bit. And then depending, maybe we want it up more. How high do you want it? Totally up to you. We're going to rip off a piece of tape. I'm going to use a larger piece of tape. I'm going to go right to where it meets a little bit below. We're gonna wrap. So we already pulled it. We're gonna go up, wrap up, so right where it meets. I'm gonna come down a little bit. Now, where do you want to add your second one? That's your next determination. So we are going to bend this back a little. Oops. I'm going to come down a little bit. So right where it's at, we're pretty good to continue wrapping. And continue to wrap that tape. Now it did get thicker, so you could add more wire at the bottom to keep it consistent how thick it is, depending if you're using it in an arrangement or not. So I can add in another piece and just wrap. I didn't need that big of a piece. So I'm just gonna rewrap. Oops. And there you have it. A beautiful ball dahlia in an orange, or if you prefer, you could do purple. So like in the purple, I just did it on the tips with the seedless preserves. The center, I used the ground espresso and seedless preserves and a little bit of the villainous potion. So again, whichever color you want, you have a gorgeous flower. Thank you for